During your A-level chemistry course, you're going to have to do a lot of balancing equations. Now in this video, we're going to be going over some examples and hopefully you should get an idea of how to balance equations. So let's start with this equation. So the question is 4CO plus 4NaOH plus O2 add 4HCl goes to H2C2O4 plus NaCl and H2O. So how I like to answer this question is I like to split it up between the left hand side and the right hand side. So I write down the elements on the left hand side and then I write down the elements we have on the right hand side and then I try to balance them. So the elements we have on the left hand side is carbon, oxygen, sodium, hydrogen and chlorine. So we have in total 4 carbons. So of oxygen we have in total, here we have 4, here we have another 4, NaOH, and here we have 2. So 4 plus 4, 8 plus 2 is 10. And sodium we have 4, and hydrogen we have 4 here, NaOH 4 here, and 4 here, so 8 in total. And chlorine we have in total 4. So on the right hand side, let's write down how many we have. So carbon on the right hand side we have 2, oxygen we have 4, and we have 1 here, so 5 in total. Na we have in total 1, hydrogen in total we have 4, and chlorine in total is 1. The first thing we can see is that on the left hand side we have 4 Na, but on the right hand side we only have 1. And we can easily balance the Na by simply putting a 4 in front of the NaCl. And now we have balanced the sodium and the chlorine. We can see that on the left hand side we have 4C, but on the right hand side we only have 2 carbons. So what we can do now is we can put a 2 in front of this H2C2O4, and this will balance our carbons. But since we put a 2 in front of this, we can see how many hydrogens we have. We have 4, 2 times 2, 4 plus 2, so we have 6 hydrogens, and we have 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1, 9 oxygens. So it's still not balanced. We still have to balance the hydrogens and the oxygens. So the only thing left now is the H2O. So what we can do is we can put a 2 in front of the H2O to then balance the hydrogens and oxygens. Let's see what we get. So if we put a 2 in front of the H2O, we now have 4 plus 4, we have 8 hydrogens, and we have 2 plus 8, we have 10 oxygens. Now you can see that this equation is fully balanced. So let's move on to the next question. Sodium azide is made by reacting dinitrogen monoxide gas with sodium amide, and the equation is NaNH2 add N2O goes to NaM3 add NaOH add NH3. And we have to balance this equation. So we go through the same steps again. We write the elements on the left hand side and we compare it with the elements on the right hand side and basically balance them. So elements on the left, we have sodium, nitrogen, oxygen and hydrogen. And same on the right hand side, sodium, nitrogen, oxygen and hydrogen. So we have 1 sodium on the left hand side, 3 nitrogens, 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. And on the right hand side we have 2 sodiums, we have 4 nitrogens and 1 oxygen and 4 hydrogens. So the first step we can do is balance the sodium, because on the left hand side there's only 1 species containing sodium, so we can only really balance that one to make it equal to the sodiums we have on the right hand side. So we put a 2 in front of the sodium amide, and now on the left hand side we have 2 sodiums and 4 nitrogens, and we've also changed the number of hydrogens we have, which is 4. And now we've basically balanced it all. Through just putting one number, we've basically balanced the entire equation. So sometimes you can get lucky, other times the exam boards do take the piss, but generally speaking, this is not very difficult to do. You can do it, it might take a little bit of patience, but you'll get there in the end. Now let's move on to the last question. Now I'd like you to pause the video and try to attempt this on your own. Basically balance this equation in front of you. So let's start. On the left hand side, the elements we have is Pb, N, and oxygen. We have 1 Pb, and since this NO3 is in brackets, we have to multiply it by this 2, little 2. So we have 2 nitrogens and 6 oxygens. On the right hand side, we also have 1 Pb, we have 1 nitrogen, and we have 5 oxygens. So now we have to balance the nitrogens and oxygens basically, because the Pb is already balanced. Now, so on the right hand side, we only have 1 species containing nitrogen. So we basically can only balance this species. So let's put 2 in front. So now we balance the nitrogens, but we have an issue. We now have 7 oxygens, and on the left we only had 6. So we need to reduce one of the oxygens. And how can we do this? Well, if you look closely on the right hand side, we have O2, but we can reduce this to simply oxygen, just one O, by doing half O2. Half O2 means we're going to only have 1 oxygen. And now this balances our equation because we have 1 oxygen here, 2 here, and 1 here. And that gives us a total of 6. Now, balancing equations can be tedious at times, but if you're patient enough and you go through the steps, then you should get the answer. And with that, that's the end of the video.